Yo, my name is Sebastian. Sarapela. So in a lot of podcasts that I listen to, the host will ask their guest, what's their favorite book? Or what book do they recommend the most? Or what book had the biggest impact on their journey? And Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki comes up a lot. Now, I read that book, or I listened to the audio version, and I really liked it too. I thought it was super interesting, and there's just a ton of good advice that anyone could get from it. So I thought it would be a good idea to summarize it for those of you that haven't read it yet. So for the summary, I'll divide it into two different videos. So part one, which is this one, where I'll just go over what the book is about. And then in part two, that's next week, I'll talk about the 6 different lessons that Robert Kiyosaki learned from his rich dad. Rich Dad, Poor Dad tells the story of how Robert grew up with 2 different fathers, which had very different views regarding the subject of money and how that affected their financial positions later in life. So the story begins in the 1950s, where Robert tells the story of when he was 9 years old. He went up to his biological dad and asked him how to be rich. Now, his dad was very smart. He was a scholar. He had a PhD, and he was making decent income from his job, but he always struggled financially, no matter how much money he made. So not being able to answer Robert, he told him to go ask his best friend's dad, which was a businessman, and he was on his way to becoming one of the richest men in Hawaii. So at the age of 9, he started seeing how both men behaved and how different their actions were when it came to their finances. Now, they both believed in education, but did not believe in the same path of study. And at that point, neither man was rich yet, but their thoughts about money was very different. So his biological dad is the one that's referred to as Poor Dad, and his best friend Mike's dad is the one referred to as Rich Dad. I'll use 2 different characters, Poor Dad and Rich Dad, and I'll tell you what they used to say, and that way that'll give you a good idea of what their thought process were when making decisions. Money is the root of all evil. The lack of money, that's the root of all evil. I can't afford it. Words have power, so don't ever say that, Robert. Instead say, how can I afford it? By saying that you can't afford it, your brain stops working. By saying, how can I afford it, you put your brain to work and you're forced to think. Having 2 different parents was very beneficial for Robert because he didn't just have one person telling him something and he would think, yes, I agree, or no, I don't agree. Instead, he had 2 different dads with different perspective telling him different things so he could analyze both sides and make a better decision. The rich make so much money, we should tax them more and give it to the poor. Taxes punish those who produce and reward those who don't. The 2 opposite views made Robert think and made him ask questions. One of the things he said is the reason the rich get richer and the poor get poorer and the middle class struggle is because the subject of money is not taught in schools. It's taught at home from parents. So if you're not making a lot of money, if the parents are not making a lot of money, how could they teach anyone to make a lot of money? I want you to study hard so you could find a good company to work for. Instead, how about you study hard and you find a good company to build or to buy? The reason I'm not rich is because I have you kids. The reason I must be rich is because I have you kids. So one believe in self-entitlement and believe that all the perks and all the benefits that they get from their job, they deserved it. And that in retirement, the government should take care of them. The other one did not believe in self-entitlement. He did not believe in being dependent. He believed in taking control of your future. When it comes to money, you should play it safe and don't take risks. Get educated and learn how to minimize and manage risks. Robert believes that the way you think affects who you become, and he was able to see the effect on both dads. His poor dad always said, I'll never be rich. But his rich dad never referred to himself as poor. He always referred to himself as a rich man, even when he wasn't and was dealing with financial difficulties. There's a difference between being broke and being poor. Being broke is temporary. Being poor, that's eternal. I don't care about money. Money is power. Thoughts are powerful, so be aware of them and be careful which ones you adopt as your own. Robert was getting advice from both dads, so he was forced to analyze both of them. His rich dad always put a strong emphasis on exercising the brain. The stronger it gets, the more money I can make. So just like exercising the body increases your chances for health, exercising your brain, your mind, it increases your chances for wealth. Laziness decreases both health and wealth. Both dads had opposing thoughts. So one paid their bills first, the other one paid their bills last. One was struggling to save money, the other one had assets that would pay him money. Robert, I want you to study hard so you could find a good job so you could work for money and get a good salary. Study hard and learn how money works so you can have it work for you. Money is one form of power, but what's more powerful, that's financial education. Money comes, money goes, so you can make a lot of money and lose it all. But if you understand how it works, then you gain power over it and you could begin building wealth. He got advice from a rich man, he got advice from a poor man. Now the long-term results of these different ways of thinking is that one man was able to become rich, and then the other one, although he was making good income, could never get ahead. Now Robert says that your mind is a powerful tool. Just being positive and just hoping for the best is not gonna get you where you wanna go. You have to put your mind to work by always learning, always asking questions, and always taking action. Now Robert chose to follow his rich dad, and he was his mentor for the next 30 years. Now over the course of that time, all the stuff that he learned from his rich dad came down to 6 different lessons. Lesson 1, the rich don't work for money. Lesson 2, why financial literacy is important. Lesson 3, mind your own business. Lesson 4, the history of taxes and the power of corporations. Lesson 5, the rich invent money. Lesson 6, work to learn and don't work for money. So I'll talk about all these different lessons in my next video. So that's all I had for today. If you like this video and think it was helpful, share it or tag a friend, or leave your comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Peace.